last 2 or 3 days, man. It's been really over 100 degrees, and been dealing with lunatics and con artists and all sorts of fun things. Just as Paul Simon says, trying to keep my customers satisfied. Anyway, so I want to say is I'm not really, well, I've thought about something. I just want to tell a story, I guess. It's about someone called Benjamin. And, I don't have any gripe with Benjamin, just a story. See, I was living with this crazy born-again Christian, crippled ex-ballerina in the middle of Koreatown landlady who had ideas about charity, quote unquote, and, kindness, quote unquote, that I had never encountered before. And I'm probably going to do a couple more about her. But this story is really about Benjamin. Now, what this deal was is that up and down this street, there were apartment complexes and houses and home, middle class, houses. Probably most of them valued in that neighborhood about $1 million, believe it or not, even though they weren't, fancy homes, but they were very solid homes. And most of them had a second house or two-story house even in the backyard. They were very large lots. And every one of them had a gate in front of them. I mean, every last one of them had a solid, high metal gate, electronic opening and everything, with dogs usually on the other side, okay? So when you walked up and down, it was like, Fortress A, Fortress B, Fortress C, And most of the people were, Latino or El Salvadorian, because it was the El Salvadorian corridor, or Korean, because it was Koreatown. And basically, the landlady, who was this white, chick from New York originally, was like the only, white thing anywhere, basically. I mean, there were a couple others, but they were in hiding somewhere. I never saw them until she called them out like a witch, come to me. But anyway, so, and that was all fine, okay? I mean, I've lived in LA all my life, whatever. So anyway, so of all these houses, there was one house that didn't have a fence going in front of it, and that was the one, of course, that I was living in. And the driveway used to have a chain link closable fence that went across it, except that one day the landlady's sister, in a fit of pique, drove her trailer into it and knocked it over, so now it sagged and was completely unusable. And then drove off to disappear and never make contact with her her sister or my landlady ever again. And it had been 20 years, and she still wondered what had happened to her. So, in other words, the driveway was completely open. I mean, people could wander up the driveway any time of the day or night, and they did. And often in search of some kind of food or a place to lie down or whatever, because the landlady was extraordinarily Christian, and of course, she would definitely be there to help people. So anyway, there was this chair, this purple chair. It's this cloth sofa chair, okay? So it wasn't like it was an outdoor chair. It was an indoor chair. It had been outdoors for eons. And it just sat there on the driveway off the asphalt, but in this little, area between the asphalt and the next house property. And that was where homeless people sat. So, and usually there was one preferred homeless person. When I first got there, it was one guy, and then for a while it was another guy, and now it was Benjamin. Benjamin came along. And what they do is that, either at night or during the day or 24 hours, they sit there, and they're usually drunk as can be, and they would just sit there and they would snore, and they would not really do anything. So and that was fine. Now, some of them, one of them, the first one, Miguel, he was really cool. He actually did help around the house and try to make things better, but Benjamin just slept. Sometimes if if the landlady ran serious herd on him and coaxed him twice for every single step, he could do something. So anyway, everything was fine, okay? I mean, it was funny watching them because they would go there and they would try to, they would drink from these beer cans, and the landlady didn't like that, so they would pop these beer cans open, and then, after she says, in Spanish, of course, no, don't drink. No, we're not drinking. I know you're drinking, but I know we're not drinking. Don't drink, or you have to leave. We're not drinking. And you would hear that every fucking day. So anyway, then you would get to watch them try to do these things where, they would try to pop a beer can, but they would spend 10 minutes at it so it wouldn't make a pop. And it was, of course, virtually impossible not to do because of science. And they would do everything slowly, 5 minutes to open a bottle of Colt 45, okay, or a can or something, And, they would do it, they'd come over with their sleeve, And then 3 minutes later, I know you're drinking. I'm not drinking. Okay, you would watch this every fucking day, okay? And, it was really a study in stupidity for me because, it never dawned on them to, pop open the can when they were half a block away before they came in here and hide it under their coat or something. No, every fucking day you have to see this, all right? Okay, I mean, when we're talking about, the shakers and movers, all right? So, I just okay, whatever, it doesn't affect me, I don't care. So, life went on, and then one day, there was this little charcoal grill that I used in the summer, to cook dinner, because, there wasn't much else, And it was really the landlady's, but she made this big show of dragging it out from some hole somewhere and saying, I think that you could benefit from using this. And it's oh, okay. So for years, that's what I did. Everyone knew it. People came sometimes and added their own food, before they, they got wise. And, not for the food, but just because, unconventional views that, always ended up being a problem. You could never keep to yourself, because if you tried to shut up and just, keep to yourself, they always start asking you about your views, and then you would tell them, and then they'd hate you. So, I was I come out one day, and there's Benjamin, and he comes up to me, and he says, hey, do you have a lighter? I said, yeah. Hold on. So I went and I got him some cheap plastic lighter and gave it to him. And he says, thanks, I'll bring it back. I said, oh, no, you can keep it. And so he left. And then a day later, I realized that our charcoal grill was missing. And so I looked everywhere for it, and I couldn't find it. And I kept thinking about it, and then it occurred to me that I had seen the grill over where Benjamin was. So don't ask me why this didn't connect in my mind. I had seen it by his chair. I thought, oh, well, he can use it, to grill something with. I don't care. I mean, it's not like he's going to, contaminate it. It's a grill, right? So, and then I never saw it again. So then I went, after 2 days, I went up and asked him, where's, the Asadora or whatever it was for grill. And, and he says, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, well, didn't you have it here 2 days ago? I never had it here. Didn't I give you a lighter? I never asked you for a lighter. So then I went to someone else who spoke, was actually of that culture. And I asked them about it. So maybe we're not connecting here. Can you go talk to him? And he says, oh, I'm sure he probably took it. So he went and he talked, and he come back. Oh, no, he says he didn't take anything. Nothing's going on. Don't worry about it. And he has no idea what happened. Too bad. So then I go to the landlady. I said, I'm not sure, but I think Benjamin may have taken the grill. It was really cold. It was the dead of winter, and it was raining, and it was cold. And she said, of course he took it. I said, oh. I see. Well, are we going to get a new one, or, are we going to, well, not only that, is he going to continue to stay here? He just stole something. Oh, well, yeah, he did just steal something. I said, okay, well, aren't we going to kick him out or something? Because he did steal something. She says, I'll talk to him. So the next day he's there sleeping away as usual. And what I just want to note is that right now, about this time, there is some sort of an epic thing going on about someone stealing food out of one of the communal refrigerators, okay? And there were notes telling people to fuck off, but no one could ever figure out who it was, and they were all too backward to put like some mini cam in there because they didn't even know what electricity was at this place. I'm not exaggerating, all right? I actually had to bring it in myself. So, they were all like having this huge fight, okay, over that, and they were threatening they were going to evict or get rid of anyone who they ever caught this shit red-handed and all this. But so then I go next and I say, well, he hasn't said anything and it's not here. She says, you can't hold it against him because these people have nothing. I said, he's living with us. He can abide by the same rules as everyone else here. And she said, oh, you heartless, you don't understand because you've never had nothing. So then I realized that she's insane, okay? Okay, it's sort of like, well, I guess that means that if I threw out everything I owned and I can come in here and start stealing things from you, I suppose. I mean, it's just like either he's living here with us, there's a certain code of honor, or there isn't, okay? He's either trustworthy or he's not, all right? I mean, he gets to stay here, he's not paying any rent. I mean, I don't, it's fine by me, but he stole something that I was using. Well, it was really my grill. Well, I don't even know if she made that assertion, but yeah, it was technically her grill, so I couldn't really say she's stolen from me, but he had stolen something, though. And the only person who used it was me. So, I realized I wasn't going to get anywhere there, so I followed him out to where he was hanging with his buddies by a park bench where they all had their trashy carts with them and they were eating, or sharing some sort of half-rotted food. And I said to him as best I could, if you ever come to this property again, he said, just forget that. Don't come back. And I told him, he as far as I can tell, I think he stole from me, guys. And so all these Latinos turned to me with their, these were not, second generation, or these are all like, really really still back home, Latinos. And they're all there, and so they all turned this same donkey, this rebellious donkey gaze on me. I can't even do it right, but this Aztec-like, because I look, relatively young, so they all seemed like they were older than me. All said, do you really think we're going to believe you, says one of them. Why would we believe you, white boy? I said, because you know him. And they all shut up for a moment. And they said, you can say whatever you want, but you're never going to, whatever. And so I said, all right, don't come back. So then I go back, to my place. And about a bit later in the night, or I don't know, maybe it was a couple of nights later, my mom comes in because she was living around the same area, and she says, I think he's there on the chair. So this is around like midnight, okay? So I got up out of bed because, there was no lock on this garage door, and there was no barrier on, the driveway. And the landlady had already basically given her blessing for him to steal, and so what I was seeing was him coming into my room, taking my cameras, taking my knives, taking my computer, and I'm not having them, not real knives that are all lying around, but just, I had my whole life was in there, taking my bud, taking my, taking my guitar or something. I don't know, it was all right there. And it was obvious that no one gave a shit. So now I had to defend my home, okay? So now I'm like, okay, what am I going to do, right? So, I can't be here. He comes anytime during the day or night. I never know when he's going to be here and when I'm going to be gone. So, and he's drunk half the time, so who even knows if he's in the right mind to be reasoned with? And they obviously weren't going to be talking with Gringo. So I went ahead and I put on my steel-toed boots. I put on my heavy, pants. I put on, a big shirt and a leather jacket. I put on gloves. I got my police, Maglite flashlight. And then I selected a piece of exercise equipment, which is basically this giant flexible bar that you bend in the middle to do your pecs, okay? And while I had a giant spring, it's mostly just a giant spring in the middle, I figured if I whacked someone across the torso with it, it would hurt like hell, but wouldn't break any bones. So, being humanitarian here. So anyway, so I take this, and I go out, and I go out the door, and I stride out with the flashlight right down the driveway, and he's gone. huh, wasn't there anymore. What a trip. So I turned around and went back to bed. So anyway, we had some days of peace, and everything was going great. And then I come out, and now the landlady, okay, this is the middle of the day, all right. She's crippled, right? But she likes to weed the front strip in front of her house after the sidewalk, that little strip of grass after the sidewalk before the gate. And so she's seated on the ground on her ass, and whether by accident or design, she invariably, when she did this, had her butt cheeks pop out of her pants, which were never quite fit her because she got all her clothes at a thrift store. And so the sun would, because now the sun was shining, the sun would shine right on her ass. I'm not making this up, okay? The sun would just shine right on her white ass, which, because she used to be a ballerina, looked like it belonged to a 30 or 40-year-old, whereas the rest of her body looked like it belonged to a witch from Macbeth. Except she had pretty full tits, but she never showed them to me. But she showed her ass to everyone. And, you would be coming down the block, okay, and you would look up and you would just see the light strike you in the eye from her ass. And it would fill you as a young man, okay, it would fill you with this sort of kind of dissidence, because you see, on one hand, you like ass, right? But then it belonged to this ancient crone who hated your guts for no logical reason that you could discern and couldn't be reasoned with. So, I was looking, oh, God. And then, there she is. And then I see she's talking to Benjamin, and I'm not kidding you. She has her hand on his cuff, and she's pointing to the chair, like she's begging him, please, please come and take refuge and harbor from the cruel elements in my safe, beautiful purple lawn chair. Well, it's not really a lawn chair, but it's now a lawn chair. And, and so, of course, he did. So now I'm back in there, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I going to do? Because, you see, there's everyone there, and they're all watching the area. And, and also, this is about the time I'm getting ready I'm trying to get my first gun, so I really don't want any incidents during the waiting period, right? So I think, shit, I got to do something. And I don't even feel I need to do something because it's a situation. I feel like I need to do something because I want to sleep that night and the next night and the next night, because even if, I don't worry about him, I'm going to be mad as hell. All right? So, I figured, well, I guess I'm just going to go out there and see what happens. So I could wander back. I was already, all set up. Wander over to him. There he is, right there, and along, in the chair, just a hair, and and I just assessed him, okay? I'm looking at him, and there, of course, at the bottom of the chair is a can of beer. So I say to him, Benjamin, I think you need to go now. And he doesn't even say anything, just smiles. So I pick up his beer can, I hold it in front of him with 2 fingers, and I start pouring it out. And, it's just a great study in the Aztec culture, I guess, because the look that comes over his face, okay, is one of the stoicism, that kind of look where, the white man has just beat on you one too many times, or the authorities, wherever he crawled from, or just stepped on his face with their big, black, filthy, shit-covered boot too many times, okay? It's that kind of a look where I know you're destroying the only thing that matters to me in my life, but hell, if I'm going to show you that, so I'm going to be stoic about it, even though you can already tell that you're destroying everything that matters in my life. So I stopped pouring the can about a quarter of the way through, and then I wandered over to his trashy cart. I put it right safely snug in the corner, wedged it in there so it wouldn't spill, and I turned the cart toward the street and stepped back. And he got up, and with a smile on his face, got the cart and wandered off and left. And then, they'd say, is the psychic world true? Is empathy really true? Well, the feelings of discordant, horrified rage came from the front house. Everyone was watching through the little shuttered curtains and the little screen doors, and I just wandered in. And what could they say? Because after all, they didn't encourage him drinking, now did they? And, I have I guess I'll go ahead and tell the third time. The third time she did it again and begged him to come back. She did. I'm not kidding you, all right? She begged him. She begged the homeless person to come take shelter in her house, which is different from her usual attitude where they begged her, you see, to take shelter in her house, and they begged, okay? That's what I'm talking to you about, Don't ever assume that because someone does kind acts that they're kind. Never, ever assume that. If you take one thing from these rants, never assume that because someone does kind acts that they're kind. It's a terrible trap to fall into. God damn, man, it was a nightmare. So anyway, and I know it's really it's discouraging, but it's, just, my God. Anyway, sorry. So now, like, he's come with some of his friends, okay? I got 2 or 3 friends. So they carouse over there on the side for a while, and then she has him doing stuff, and I'm like thinking, what am I going to do this time? He doesn't have any booze, or he drank it too fast to do anything about. And then, you ever feel like sometimes God gives you gifts in strange ways? One of the homeless people had shit right by the chair, and they had shit in such a way it was like an uncontrolled spurt, you see. So the shit had covered the white wall, dripped all the way down, and was now in this steaming puddle at the bottom where the ground met the wall. And the people who lived in the house over, they tolerated the landlady, but they did not like her, and they were really anal about things like that because they rented, you see, and they had just remodeled the entire place to get more tenants. And they had all their windows open. So I just started screaming, "You shit all over the wall, Benjamin!" And I just kept screaming it over. I'm sorry. And over, and just the way that only a horrified white person can, Gotta take your advantages where you can find them. It was just sending reams of fear through every brown face in that neighborhood. I'm gonna call the health inspector. There's shit all over the wall. Like I was just having a nervous breakdown, And he comes running over and says, I'll clean it up. I promise. Just don't do anything. Don't do anything, please. I said, and you need to leave. So he cleaned it up and he left. Anyway. So my relationship with the landlady was getting worse and worse during this time, and what can I say? And I tried many times to make peace and extend the olive branch, and just say I just want to live alone, but like not be accused of stealing and not be accused of sabotage, and every time something breaks in your household, you don't blame it on me because it was just ancient and it broke, but instead you come and accuse me of breaking it with absolutely no evidence whatsoever at all. I know you broke it, David. How do you know? Because, well, who else would have done it? So anyway, and it'd be like, okay, well, maybe it was someone who wandered off the street and broke it. Maybe it just broke, things just break. But no, I know you, and that would be what she would do, okay? But it was okay for Benjamin to steal because he had nothing. So anyway, now I'm leaving there, and during the time, they were paying me $20,000 to leave her illegally permitted, her garage she was renting out to 3 other people, so they had their lives ruined too, possibly. But anyway, and so now I'm leaving, and I had all this recycling, because there's a recycling place right over, but you got to hear it every day, crushed glass at random times, so you never knew there'd be this tremendous shattering of glass that would go through the entire neighborhood at any time between, 7 and 5 p.m. Anyway, so I had all this recycling there, and I realized that since I was moving, and of course $5 seems kind of lame compared to $20,000, but it was just it turned out that I had a lot of this stuff they didn't even do anything with. They said that they would recycle it. When you took it over there, they rejected it for one of 1,000 different convoluted and complex reasons. You need to be like a mad scientist to do your recycling, okay? And so I had these 3 huge bags of recycling, and it hit me that I don't want to give them to any of the people here. I don't want to put them in the recycling bin because it's worth money, and it's the same as giving it to the people here because they regularly checked all the trash bans for goodies at this place, okay? And and I don't really want to take it over to that stupid recycling place because they would abuse people there sometimes, whatever. But some of the regulars would get a tongue lashing from time to time if they didn't act just right. So anyway, I took, I thought, I know. So I took all of this recycling and I put it on Benjamin's chair because by that time, about a week before I was leaving, she was having him there every day. But by that point, he was so docile, and she was already paying me all this money, and I was there all the time to guard the place, that I just decided that, okay. But he wasn't there then. So I took all this recycling and I put it on his chair, because I figured, well, you know, he was, in his own way, he was honorable, I guess. And it wasn't, I mean, so, he was human, and, it was all gonna, something was gonna happen. So I put it on his chair and just said, I just think square is square, right? And just left. The landlady, as soon as I did, within 30 seconds, she came and she was, I don't care, I mean, she was cackling like a witch. I'm not exaggerating, okay? It's like, got her cane, and she went over and she took every bag of that recycling and claimed it for herself, and never even told Benjamin it was his, when everyone knows that was a share she was giving him. Took it all for it, took it right over that day, and bought dog food with it. So many different perspectives.